Guys, what's going on? So, Gsxr 750 or Gsxr 1000, which is the better bike? Which one do I like more than the other? And well, I want to dive into this topic because I've been putting out quite a few videos of me riding both of these bikes, and in both of them, it sounds like I'm having just the time of my life. It's because I am. They're both so different with how they do the same thing that you could be forgiven if you just simply couldn't give a straight answer as to which one you do like more than the other. Now, I want to explain how these bikes do go about doing the work that they do, and maybe as I'm describing this, it may dawn on you which one of these bikes might be right for you, because if you're watching this, the chances are you might be actually contemplating one or the other. So let's dive into it. First of all, the Gsxr 750 for me is the absolute most pure form of sport bike with no rider aids, no quick shift or anything like that, and plenty of horsepower on the top of the rev range. The Gsxr 750 offers up a riding experience that is very reminiscent, in fact, practically identical to the old school original sport bikes from 20 odd years ago. That's one of the things that makes the Gsxr 750 so charming. It's got a ton of horsepower, but it's not overwhelming. It's very lightweight and very compact with how it holds its weight, so it feels actually quite a bit lighter than what it is. Add that up and you get a very sporty bike with adjustable rear sets for varying heights of riders. You've got a bike that's got a lot of versatility and a ton of performance to boot. Plus, you get that old school riding experience with a motorcycle that will absolutely teach you how to blip downshifts and be a better rider in general. It'll make you feel better than you might actually be on a bike. That's the greatest thing about the Gsxr 750, that lively, fun personality. Now, what about the Gsxr 1000? Well, guys, look, the Gsxr 1000, its reputation precedes it. It's based on the amount of power that this bike has to offer. Basically unrestricted at 200 whole horsepower. That is an astonishing number, and it wasn't that long ago where it was only actual factory race bikes that could talk about making power numbers like that. Now you can just go into a dealership and buy one of these things. And that is the craziest thing about this motorcycle. The Gsxr 1000 does offer up a mountain of power, but it's exceptionally easy to ride. All that power and torque is just a twist of the throttle away, but at partial throttle, at that partial roll-on type of acceleration, the bike is just so silky smooth and will shove you forward, if not with any kind of like a franticness, it just kind of ushers you along with a very muscly shove, and that's what makes the 1000 bike so great. Any of the leader class bikes will offer up that type of a performance, but for a lot of guys that can be very intimidating. That is a ton of power, and again, if you're not into the power and you're more into handling and the overall riding experience, the 1000 cc's and the power that comes with it could be a bit wasted on you, and it could be something that becomes a bit more of a distraction than it is a benefit. But taking all of that aside, the Gsxr 1000 and any of the other leader bikes are going to be much more sedate than maybe you might think that they would be if you've never ridden one before. And for many guys, once they get into a leader bike, that robust acceleration under any throttle input, and the fact that it is so rideable and the power delivery is so intuitive once you get used to it, there's no turning back. So really, how would I sum these bikes up? Well, let me put it to you a couple of different ways. If we were talking about these motorcycles as movies, for example, action movies, the Gsxr 1000 would be like a Michael Bay movie with a ton of explosions and just unbelievable graphics and all kinds of just amazing visuals, right? Crazy action-packed, but everything in between that might be a bit dull. Like, there's not really a whole lot of plot points to the movie. It's basically things just happen and then the next grand spectacle takes place on screen. In a lot of ways, that's how the Gsxr 1000 and any other leader bike is. The whole experience of the bike is wrapped up into just outright performance, taking away anything that may be a bit more heady in between scenes. The Gsxr 750, it's like a buddy cop movie. Yeah, it's got action scenes, but they're a bit more realistic. In between those action scenes, though, there's levity, there's joking around. You got somebody that's a little unhinged and somebody that's too old for this stuff. The Gsxr 750 has a little bit more of a plot point. It's got more theater with that intake growl. It's got that flickability, that fun, just giddiness about it with the levity that you might want, but still tons of action nonetheless. Still both action flicks, but certainly different in the way that they entertain. And guys, if you want something that is going to be just in general a ton of fun, something that is not going to be overly intimidating, then the Gsxr 750 is probably going to be the bike for you. And if you're an adrenaline junkie and you just want to go absolutely bananas with speed, then the Gsxr 1000 is probably going to fit that bill. Just remember though that once you get used to that 1000 cc's, you're going to find again that instant torque makes for an amazing street bike. Now, let me get into what is it like to ride from the perspective of somebody coming into either one of these bikes from, say, one of the middleweight bikes, like a Daytona 660 or a Gsx 8R. You're looking to elevate up into either a Gsxr 750 or any of the other middleweights that could be out there, say an R9 or the V2 Panigale from Ducati. Or you're thinking, man, I've been doing this for a while. I kind of want a 1000 cc bike. What are they really like to ride, and what is the difference if I've never ridden one before? So if you're coming from those types of bikes, the Gsxr 750 is going to be practically indistinguishable from those bikes until you get it up around 9,000 RPM. About the time that your Gsx 8R quit making power, that's where this one starts. And it will just keep building power and blasting you with that crescendo 4-cylinder up to 13,000 RPM, where it's making around 150 horsepower if you've had this bike de-restricted. And that's the crazy part of it. There is nothing really separating a 750 4-cylinder from a big parallel twin, or maybe even a triple. The reason for that is that where those motorcycles make their peak power, again, is where this bike is just getting started. Low RPM performance may not even be any different, or it could be maybe a little bit more with that entry-level middleweight. Now, if you're going to compare that to the Gsxr 1000, well, that's going to be a completely different story. Where the Gsxr 750 will make roughly, call it double the horsepower of your entry-level middleweight, the Gsxr 1000 is taking that and adding even more to it, about 33%, roughly 150, but roughly 200, with all of the torque to boot. So there is a bit more of a learning curve when it comes to getting into the 1000 cc bikes, although the 1000 cc bike might be a bit easier for you to ride, again, because it has so much bottom end torque and partial throttle power. Make the decision, ride them both, and see what you think. For many guys, the power is just a little bit too much and it becomes a bit more of a distraction, making the leader class bike a bit of a one-trick pony, even though it can do it all. They'll get that in their head a little bit. And they'll start thinking that the middleweights are going to be a better play. Just remember that after a while with a middleweight, if you start wanting for more, you've pretty much capped out that class. The slowest leader class bike in the field will mop the floor in terms of just outright acceleration with any of the middleweight bikes. And that's another thing to remember. There is a huge divide now between leader class bikes and middleweights. You've got to get out there and experience both of them. And hopefully this video helps you kind of steer your way into whichever one of those classes that you like. Now, personally, which one do I like more? Look, I'm kind of more of a middleweight fan myself. I do love my Gsxr 1000, and I'm not letting this one out of the stable. I love the way that it makes for such a great street bike with all of that torque on demand. The bike handles exceptionally well. I'm used to the power. I know what to expect out of this machine, and so it never really takes me by surprise. It just happens to go really fast sometimes, and I enjoy that. But it never feels like it's out of control. Now, the Gsxr 750, on the other hand, for me, it's a bit more of a pure riding experience. I am the quick shifter, I am the rider aids, I am the rider modes when it comes to this bike. And because of that, it just is more fun. Again, it's shorter nose to tail and shorter seat height, centralizes the weight more, makes the bike feel a lot lighter, especially with that smaller 180 rear tire. And I feel like I can just point and click and set up the 750 easier than I can the 1000. And it's because of all of those reasons that the 750 is just more fun in general. Don't take my word for it. Most people, once they've ridden the Gsxr 750, will somehow or another figure out a way to find it into their garage. So I can't be the only one that thinks this way, because Suzuki seems to sell every single one of these things that they make. But anyway, guys, get out there, give them a shot. They're both amazing machines. I will leave you with that parting shot. Yes, it's extremely difficult for me to pick which one I grab the keys to, but I'll put it to you like this. I just came back with that one, and I fell in love with it all over again, just like I do with every one of the bikes that I ride. But with that, guys, post up your comments. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Take care.